Another very good example of someone who speaks up, serving everyone is a good role model when it comes to what we need to do. Jason Rantz, host of the Jason Rantz Show on KTTH. Jason, I see you often on other programs here. It's always a pleasure to watch you and a pleasure now to host you. You heard from Vernon the nature of what happens to people of color who do not conform. What's your take on this in your life?
It's minorities of any kind, racial, gender, religious. We are all defined by the left as props to signal their own virtue. I'm gay and Jewish. They love the fact that I'm gay and Jewish.
A double whammy there, my dear.
Well, in fairness, Jews are no longer considered minorities in this country by the Democrats because we have too much power, apparently, and influence, which, of course, plays into anti-Semitic stereotypes. Right. But the second that they find out that you are a conservative, all of a sudden that you don't belong. You're not gay enough. You're not Jewish enough. You're not black enough. You're not Asian enough. This is a common theme amongst the left because they don't merely view you all as props. They want you to forward an ideological agenda. And for them to have that kind of power, they have to convince everyone that if you identify as gay or Jewish or black or Asian, you have to be a Democrat. You have to owe us. Everything that you have is owed to the mostly white progressives, and they're going to take your vote and then transform this country. And of course, it's supposed to be for the betterment of everybody else.
Well,
none of the policies that have passed. Yeah, it's of course it's a lie. It's a total lie.
And Jason, this is the core of identity politics. It is a scourge. Yep. It's a cancer on any society. The left has used it everywhere that they've invaded and destroyed lives and nations. And it relies on this idea, and it's the height of racism, sexism, and homophobia, is this presumption that we all think the same somehow. Is this bizarre juvenile attitude that people who are of a certain way are to behave in a certain way. It is the height of bigotry when it comes to how people are viewed.
Yeah, it's just condescending. And I'm so sick and tired of all the tokenizing that goes on. And I think we saw this with Senator Tim Scott. I mean, TV's dumbest lawyer, Sonny Hostin, this morning on The View, comes out there and effectively calls him a token.
Well, of course.
And the only reson that he was chosen is because he's black and he's a conservative. That's the only reason they chose him, not because of his experience, none of that.
And Joy Behar, I want you to hear what Joy Behar had to say about Tim Scott. Let's play this.
Love it.
Now, Tim Scott. He does not seem to understand, and a lot of them don't seem to understand, the difference between a racist country and a systemic racism. The fact that Tim Scott cannot acknowledge this is appalling. How can you go out there and say that when you just said 2 minutes ago that you were the object and the victim of discrimination? And then he says that this is not a racist country.
You know, the patronizing sanctimony of he just doesn't understand. If she disagreed with Kamala Harris on something, would she go out there and be speaking about the vice president as though she was an infant? No, if you're a conservative because you have committed the crime of not conforming to what they want you to be.
Well, let's all remember, this is blackface Joy Behar. This is the one who actively did something racist and wanted a pass for it. And she was given a pass because people judged her by her character, but really by her ideology. Yeah. So she got a pass like so many others who do racist things. But for a white lady of her age and of her privilege, to use the language of the left, to explain away racism to a black man,
the white-splaining,
with that story
blinding,
is disturbing to me. It's just, we can disagree. And guess what? You know what? Just because there's racism in this country, and there definitely is, there is. He wasn't saying there's no racism. He explicitly talked about the racism that he experienced. It doesn't mean that the country is racist. And that's the
Jason,
point.
That's a perfect point, because that's a difference between individuals and saying that the nation is hopeless and lost and racist. Sir, thank you very much. Appreciate you being here. Great stuff as always. Coming up, from tax hikes to social justice.